New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
Rev Eamon. Hello.
And this is New Thought today for August. No, it's September. I did it already. There we go. September 3rd, 2024. Thanks for being with us, folks. You're in for a special treat. You can tell already, can't you? So, and our special guest today is Rev Eamon Duffy from the New Thought Men's community. We're going to get a chance to talk to him and have a whole good time. And just want to let you know that we're grateful you're with us. If you'd like to join the conversation live, feel free to drop a comment in the comment box, or if you're watching it another time, feel free to drop a comment. We'll get back to you as we are able. So, Reverend Eamon, welcome back. It's been several months, and some of the folks out there might not remember everything we do here. So tune us in and let everybody know just a little bit about yourself, what they need to know, so we can jump into this conversation.
Yeah. Well, hey, everyone. It's great to be back again. I'm Reverend Eamon with the New Thought Men's community. And I think where that came from is, or where the community kind of evolved from, and we've been around for over 10 years now, is my own personal experience and my own personal healing path, which was about 30 years ago. I found men's work through the New Thought community, through Mile High Church here in Lakewood, Colorado, that I had just found and took a course, an inner child journey, and found a bunch of people who did men's work, and ultimately found a mentor through that. And the rest is kind of history. I've done so much men's work and so much New Thought, became a practitioner, became a minister, and here I am today. Just Spirit told me, just put the two together and put it out there. So we're here to really serve the New Thought men, the men of New Thought, whether you're Unity or a CSL Center, Divine Science, Better Living, just wherever you come from, or an independent, wherever you come from, we're here to serve you and provide support, connection, community, and even help start a men's group in your community. So that's kind of maybe the overall picture of the New Thought Men's community at this point. We'll talk about some more other exciting things like the summit, but we'll talk about that in the second half of the program. But that's the basics of kind of where it came from.
Beautiful.
Little history.
Yeah, world history 101 in 10 minutes or less.
For sure. It was really incredible. Like, I think before I decided to become a minister, I sat down for almost a year, and I just sat with the question of what does my ministry look like? As many people do, like either before or during or sometimes after ministerial school, we kind of are like, okay, what am I going to do with this thing?
Or better yet, what did I get myself into?
And so in sitting with this, I'm like, okay, Spirit, I'm waiting for this big epiphany. I'm like, okay, Spirit, tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'm ready for it. And, you know, eventually that small voice comes in and goes, you know, hey, you've been doing men's work for 30 years and New Thought for 30 years. Just put the two together, buddy. It's not that hard. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. Which it did. And I love, in a sense, that even doing what was my authentic call of finding Mile High and finding this philosophy and doing men's work, what was my personal call, then becomes the larger call of preparing me to be able to show up in this role of minister, being able to show up in this experience of supporting men in the process, and very timely too. It's I think it's now a really potent time for us as men to look at the deeper consciousness around our masculinity and around who we are and how we show up in the world. As we can see, the world is kind of full of a lot of change, as we've noticed in the last many years, and I think it's the call. It's really, I view it as a call to us as men to step up into this higher consciousness. I think there's plenty of people who are trying to toe the line and hold on to what masculinity has been in the past, which is maybe more patriarchal, maybe more abusive, in a lot of different ways. And so now I feel like we're being called to speak to what are we moving into. As New Thoughters, we always kind of view that higher vision. What are we moving into? We're called to move into healthy, mature masculinity, rather than what seems like immature masculinity that's going on. It's all about the me, and mature masculinity is about certainly serving and supporting ourselves, but also stepping into this greater realm of how do I support this evolution, this spiral upwards that we're on, to be able to nurture this greater good that's possible through being a healthy man, through supporting equality, through being open-hearted and loving individuals, and showing up in the most illuminated and conscious ways that we can in the world.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with masculinity is this whole thing of, it's really masculinity and femininity is just yin and yang. So there is no hierarchy. There is no, dominant way of doing it. It has to keep circle with all of it. It has to stay balanced with all of it. And unfortunately, today's society has gotten stuck. Somehow the wheel got to a certain point. They stuck a stick in the wheel to keep the thing from turning, like on your bike. And and so now we've been in this little skid for a while, and the universe and nature itself is beginning to tell us you can't do that without serious consequences. Yeah. And so if you don't get on board in the natural order of things, and not natural order if somebody's dominant over another or somebody's recessive over another, but the dominance of it is a cycle. We live in a cyclic, connected, universal process that if it gets disrupted, we have things like we're finding all over the planet. And so this men's work, as I see it, is very important, because we're the ones that are out of balance. I think pretty much everybody else is trying to step on the merry-go-round, but we won't let them.
Yeah, I think how are we more inclusive, not only of others, but of ourselves, of our truest nature. Like, we label things as, masculine or feminine. Well, maybe if you're being more aggressive, you're more masculine, or maybe if you're being more passive, you're more feminine. We equate this with, the mind with masculinity, the heart with femininity. But all of these things, and I love, thank you, Elzia, because, the truth is we're all holistic beings. To take the masculine or the feminine side of all of us that we have, or these labels that we have as masculine or feminine for certain traits of being a kind and loving person, or being a focused and person with boundaries, or whatever it is, we can label those feminine and masculine, but truly they're just labels. And I think that's a part of this next evolution that we're spiraling up into, is to take the gender association away from these things, and to have it just be a thing that all of us can access, since all of us experience it, right? It makes
Why
sense.
don't we and we can get rid of all. I think, one thing we can start with is trying a new label of give and take. Forget right, wrong, male, female. It's give and take, and give and take can happen on any side of the spectrum. It takes a little bit of the sting out. It takes a little bit of the hierarchy out. It's just sometimes I'm giving, sometimes I'm taking, or give and receive. Whatever words create the least amount of dominant idea, or creates the least amount of I need to be subservient to you.
Yeah.
And begin to look at, there's always this give and receive process of life in everything. You can't think of one thing that is labeled as life that's not give and take. And if we in New Thought are of the opinion that life is prime, and I think we are, then we have to. I cannot sit here and breathe in and not breathe out. It just won't work, right? Or I can't just continue to breathe out. At some point, if I don't give that give and take, my little square is going to be empty. And so if people want their squares to be empty, have at it. I'm trying to keep my square as highlighted and active as possible as long as I can.
Yeah, I'm reminded of when I first got into all of this way back when, and many of you might have experienced something similar. You get involved in a community and suddenly somebody has a personality profile to do. And you do a personality profile, and they all have their benefits and they all have some detractors. And but I remember doing one, and I was kind of off the charts in one spot. And I took that as right on. I did well. And my minister looked at me, and he was looking at me, he said, you might want to learn how to balance that. You might want to learn how to even those things out a little bit more, so you're not doing this throughout your entire life. And in the intervening years, I have found that finding that balance, whether it's in my male and female sides, whether it's in my scientific to spiritual sides, whether it's no matter where there is. And I think in a lot of ways, this is where the New Thought movement so falls in love with that idea of the both and. When we have balance, we're in tune with the both and. When we're way off on a tangent somewhere, it's really tough to see the both and aspect of it, and it's real easy to see the either or aspect of it. And right now, there's a lot of people in America, especially during election season. This isn't anything new. We talk about this every couple of years, right? And every 4 years, it's more violent or more divisive, if you will, than it was during the midterms. But ultimately, I think that New Thought holds that key because we can remember the both and get to that balance, that sense of oneness in a bigger way.
And go ahead, Eamon.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, Robert, you nailed it. Balance. I think and LZ was alluding to that. It's like, how do we create more balance in not only in our personal lives, but in the world? As we can see these extremes that are just pushing us back and forth. instead of being able to see individuals, bless individuals where they're at, and also know when, you know, somebody's locked in to their certain perspective that we just like, hey, that's fine. You know, I honor and bless you. I don't need to get into an argument about it or a disagreement about it.
And think about this. And think about this. Right now, we have convenient labels that are agreed upon, male and female. How would the world be different if we were called female and females were called males? Would that would that change the way we look at things? Would now we have a more feminine dominant, because it's just a label. It's a label to try and get an understanding of a whole thing that we can't digest at once. And so we have to begin to say, we are trying to define the indescribable with limited, finite language of something that is infinite and ever evolving, or I won't even say evolving, ever revealing itself, because we are operating, because the divine creative source of all things is always what it is. But us, with our limited, finite perception of it, it is always revealing, or we are always discovering different aspects of it. And at that point, we got to label it. Well, what if we label it wrong, so to speak? Or what if we label it with some biases or with some things left out? And when we can get beyond that and this whole idea of separateness and look at it as a wholeness, you know, if they discovered a new aspect of the heart that was very, very important, they're not going to discard the heart. They're going to figure out how that thing worked together with the heart. And that's how we have to look at life. And I think, given the masculinity that has been present in our lives now, we need to try to incorporate it more, a new version, a grander, wider version into the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is right. It is through our perceptive lens that we see everything. And so to be able to expand that, I think there is an evolution that's happening. And even if we look at, like, let's take the word God, for instance. Like, I feel like that word is wonderful and beautiful, and it means something totally different to everyone who says it. Something totally different. And so the same is for masculine and feminine. Depending on whether you're masculine or feminine, there's definitely a different perspective, and then your individual experience. And I think the beauty and the brilliance of the diversity of the cosmos, of the creativity flowing in and through us as unique individual beings, flowing in and through nature. I love looking to nature for that deeper understanding of, yes, can we imagine, you know, and I think I might have mentioned this before, but in our society as monocrops, and there are certain people who would want a monocrop and have exactly everyone the same and the right row and the right, you know, thing. But even, I mean, you can't, is it even possible to do that? And so I think for me, I look to nature and I see the diversity. Even though I look out my window and I see a bunch of evergreen trees, they're all in different places. They all have the unique twists and turns from the wind or from how it was planted. And it just speaks to our own diversity and the uniqueness and the beauty and the creativity that we all bring to this. And I love it. I celebrate that. And I think that's important for us to value, which we do as a spiritual community, but the larger societal picture of how do we value diversity and why do we value diversity? And what does it bring us? Because it has such riches attached to it when we allow people to be their authentic selves and to show up and to bring their gifts. But when we start to shut it down, when we say, oh, this group is better than this group, or these people this way and these people are this way, then we tend to want to divide, right? Which is not in alignment with our philosophy. Our philosophy is wholeness. That we're whole individuals, but also we're whole as a society, as a community, as a globe, as the world.
And Robert is going to take offense to what I'm going to say right now. He doesn't know what I'm going to say, but I know him.
Controversy.
He might be a little bit biased this time, or unbiased. But football season is starting next. And on a football team,
I thought we were going to talk about something interesting.
I need a whole offensive line. I need tackles. I need guards. I need tight ends. If I'm missing one of those, the effectiveness and the potency of my offense will go down. Now, my tight end is no better or worse than my center or my tackle or guard. I need all of them. And I don't try to get the big center to be a tight end unless I can do a trick play, and sometimes that works. But I get a tight end because of what they can do. I get a center because of what they can do. And I don't try to make the other one, if you will. Yeah. And this whole idea about diversity and authenticity is what fit. I mean, they would definitely not want me to be the center of anything unless it's the center of a line. We just counting something, maybe. I don't know. But definitely not a center on a football team. And so, the more we can begin to really release our biases, we all have them, begin to look at life in a more holistic, organic, complete whole or complete thing, we can begin to start chipping away at I'm better than you, or you're better than me, or they're better than them, or them are better than those others. And we can begin to really make some progress. And because right now we live in a male-dominated society, no matter where you go, there may be a few cultures that still have a matrilineal focus where the matriarchy is in charge and not the patriarchy. Then we can begin to make some progress, I think. And it's a lot of stress being a male. I'll just tell you that right now. And if I can get rid of some of it, I'm gonna be happy to.
Yeah. It's hard right now. I think being a male, if we look at some of the statistics, it's 100 men a day commit suicide. 100 men a day. And out of those, or in addition to those, 20 times that attempt suicide every day. So we have 2,000 men who are attempting suicide every day. A friend of mine that works with soldiers and emergency responders, he says it's probably closer to, instead of 25 vets a day, it's probably closer to 35 or 40 vets a day who either commit or attempt a suicide. So I think, just based on this, it's like men are in crisis. Right. Masculinity is in crisis. It needs help. Anytime that we shove all of those emotions down, which we're taught to at a young age, but then you go through some kind of military training, basic training, you're shoving all that stuff down again. They do not want you to be emotional on the battlefield. That's part of our training of pushing those emotions down, is the old way of being, which is, hey, we're men, we have to be prepared to go to war. So we got to shove those emotions down. Unfortunately, in society, it doesn't work so well if we shove those emotions down. They tend to come out sideways. But then taking someone who's shoved them down, also has been in action in some way, in a military action, and then bringing them back from that with all the PTSD and putting them into a normalized society, sarcastically, well, that probably shouldn't create any problem, should it? And here we are with, guys, men mostly, pulling out guns and shooting people. There's a lot of violence that's going on, and a lot of stress because of the lack of ability to deal with the emotional experience that's going on within. So it's a huge piece of the healing of our society, but also the healing of us as men, to be able to go into that heart space, to be able to go in that feeling space, and do some healing work.
And here's where I think we fell off the rails a bit in men's training, or men's vernacular, if you will. I was in ROTC, and I didn't get commissioned, but I did go to basic training and do all of that. And when you said that, I think back to that training, and we trained on one aspect of life.
Yeah.
Whereas if we look at the global society from its very beginnings, rites of passage programs included all of that. Not only how to defend, but also how to heal or include, right? And so we took one part of a masculine rites of passage program, the protect part, and we just overemphasized it. And so if there's no counterbalance to that, then it gets to be toxic, and then it gets to be an uncontrollable monster. Because I can tell you, on some of the hikes, and I call them hikes, but they were basically simulating forced military marches with all kind of surprises and booby traps and all of that stuff going on. I was in just a simulated situation, and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. If it's in a real situation, it's triple crazy. And when we train our young men, 17, 18, 19, 20, to be in that mode full time, when they come out, they can't be anything less than at least a little disturbed.
Yeah.
And we have to stop that.
And we see the trauma, we see the PTSD, we see the homelessness, we see all of these things that are direct effects of that trauma, of being in action, of having to be in that life or death situation on a regular basis. And so, how do we take that? How do we bring them back into society and integrate? And really, for all of us, how do we look at society now and say, hey, I want to be, as a man, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this change. I don't want to be a part of what's going on with the insanity. We see a lot of men who are confused, and then that anger and confusion gets used in a way, or manipulated in a way. Same thing, a recruiting for something like, a fascist regime or something like that. We see Nazis, marching in the streets. We see this manipulation of men that want to stand for something, but they're standing for their anger, they're standing for their fear, instead of for their love, instead of for their country and for freedom and for all of the things that we stand for, especially in the United States, of equality, of true freedom, of acceptance, of welcoming in to this melting pot, all of the diversity that we can get, because we know that makes that experience for all of us richer, not only fiscally, which is proven, but also on so many different other levels. And so, I think finding our way back or finding a new way, really, to healthy masculinity is what we're doing. We're carving a new path this understanding. Oh, that's what we're about anyhow.
Absolutely. And I know it's probably about time for us to go to a break, but I just want to add in here real quick is that I'm guaranteeing, and it's hard to make guarantees, especially today, but I'm guaranteeing nobody is trying to make mushrooms that help filter the earth and create active microbes in the sand to grow things. They're not trying to switch them over to snails or to be butterflies. They are allowing those mushrooms to be exactly what they are, to create balance and to do what they are brought here and put here to do. No separation. And the sooner we as humans begin to realize and understand that it's the same with us. We're all put here with different skills, talents, however you want to label that. When we can begin to recognize, and a way that's being emphasized now is when we look at the so-called disabled or the disability movement. How long have those individuals been outcast? And then now they're slowly being integrated into the thing. They're saying, "Chuck, they're doing something that I couldn't do in 1,000 years. Why have I excluded them from the table for so long? Because I felt a little uncomfortable. I didn't know how to act toward that situation." We got to get rid of this stuff and look at people as they are, and then we're gonna make some real fast progress when we do that.
Yes. And what we really need to do, folks, is take a break and let a couple of our sponsors say hello. So we're going to give our guests a chance to take a sip of water. We're going to ask you to stay with us and stay tuned. Pay attention to just a couple moments of sponsorships, and we'll be right back with more of New Thought Today and Rev Eamon Duffy after this. Stay tuned.
New Thought Men's community proudly presents New Thought Men's Summit, Foundations, an online conference, September 22nd through 27th. Register today at www.newthoughtmens.community. Join your host, Rev Eamon Duffy, and a collection of new thought leaders as we explore the principles and practices of sacred masculinity. New Thought Men's Summit 2024. Join our daily sessions, crafted to help you embrace and expand your experience of spiritual masculinity. Come experience a safe and sacred community of men, committed to doing the work of conscious evolution. Come be inspired. Featuring 22 new thought speakers, ministers, and visionaries, sharing their wisdom of modern spiritual masculinity. Register today at www.newthoughtmens.community. New Thought Men's Community. Empowering wholeness, centered in spiritual living.
Yes, and we're back with more of New Thought Today. And Rev Eamon, that's the big deal. That's the most important thing I can think of when we're talking about men's work in the next handful of weeks and throughout. And your work, I say this privately and I want to say it publicly. I've been inspired by your work over the last handful of years and what you're doing, and how you are marrying the men's work and the New Thought work in a way that isn't overly preachy, isn't overly warrior-based, it is very, in my opinion, aligned. And that's why I'm really honored to have been invited to be a part of this summit, and Rev Z is a part of the summit. And of course, you're the mastermind and the brainchild, and you're the guy actually doing all the work. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well, that was beautiful commercial. Thanks, Robert. And for all of your support and Elzia's support too. Both of you are speakers at our conference. Let me name a few other ones. Mark Anthony Lord, Mark Gilbert, Jay Lang, Jeffrey Ryan, Dr. Barry Ebert, Bill Marcioni, David Ault, David Alexander, Raymond Anderson, Jesse Jennings, Christian Sorensen, Dan Granda, Jim Lockard, Russ Laguerre, John Waterhouse, Tom Daly, Josh Reeves, Dennis Merritt Jones, and Skip Jennings. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm just humbled. I really am. Like, I mean, the fact that all of these amazing men in our movement showed up to say yes. And I think it has less flattery to do with me, and more that they see that men in our movement really want this support and need this support right now. And yeah, I think, you know, certainly those warrior guys, hey, you're welcome here. But I think we see in New Thought, we see a lot more tenderness. We see a lot more sensitive men. We see a lot more empathetic men. We see less of the stereotypical kind of masculine dude, and we see more consciousness and more awareness from the men in our community. So we wanted to bring specifically all these amazing speakers in and have them share on different topics, so that we in this philosophy can help up level, can grow, can ask the questions about everything from, you know, forgiveness to visioning to the beloved community to optimism, values, abundance, just, you know, being a dad, you know, all of the things that I think we look at, we maybe struggle with daily or are challenged by daily. And how do we up level? How do we really become the better man that we want to be? I know, you know, I have a certain set of values. I have a certain set of a vision that I stand by every single year or every single day. I try and stand in that. And sometimes I make it, and sometimes I don't. The days that I don't, that I'm struggling, you know, I want men in my life like LZ, like Robert, like other men in New Thought who can be there and listen, who can support, who can be a part of a community, a men's group, who can be involved in, you know, at least even sharing something for me to ponder, to raise my consciousness, to raise into that higher understanding and vibration and frequency, so that I can do that inner work, so that I can look and say, yeah, here's where I want to grow, or this is holding me back from being my greatest self, or living my full abundance, or showing up for my family, my partner. So I think this is one of the reasons why I've been really wanting to do this for many years now. This has been in the works for many, many years. And to have all these amazing and incredible men show up for this thing is just going to be awesome and amazing. So yeah, it's exciting.
You know, one of the things I think that's important to me, and I think it's valuable to men in general, is that from this New Thought perspective and group of individuals who have had all type of spiritual and life experience, that this presentation, this retreat, is a trans-denominational, if you will. We have people from all backgrounds, from Christianity, from Catholicism, from Islam, from, you know, Buddhists, that can come together on an even platform of the spiritual aspect and nature of men, i.e. all things, and be able to speak to them not from a theoretical perspective, but from a first-hand experiential point of view. And I think, given now the media and all of the different ways we communicate, there's a lot of theoretical knowledge. There's not lot of educational input, but I think there's very little actual experience. And it makes me think about that whole statement. The map is not the territory. The information we learn is not exactly how it gets applied in an actual situation.
Yeah.
And we have to begin to really understand that. And I think this summit brings people together with a diverse background, diverse everything, that have experienced this stuff, that to be able to make a compelling, intriguing, and inviting presentation on where we as men need to be looking to heal and where we need to be focusing to continue our evolutionary process called life.
Yeah, thanks, Elzia, for sure. And while it is a summit, it's open to all. So if women want to view these videos, they're free. Just to pump it up a little, this is a free event. And yeah, you can go to newthoughtmens.community and you can sign up. And if you click learn more about the summit on our page, it'll take you right to the landing page. And this is just the beginning, though. This is really the start of a bigger thing for us, because we take all of these talks and then bring them into men's groups. So really what we're about creating are men's groups, whether that be in your local center, whether you have one or don't have one. This can be a companion to that, either starting one or being able to bring extra wisdom into the circle, but also online. We're providing new men's groups that'll start after the summit for guys who need that. And when we look at this loneliness epidemic that's happening, and for men and for women, this kind of aloneness that the pandemic has sort of brought to our lives, of like, yeah, I don't want to go outside of my little shire, as it were. I don't want to go outside my house or outside of my community too much. I think it's something interesting that's happened. I don't think we quite understand it yet, but this is a great way to be able to participate in community online. If you can't or don't want to in real life be a part of a men's group, then we have those available after the summit. And that's where really the magic happens. As much as I'd love to say, oh yes, the magic really happens in the gatherings, our retreats, or the summit, or the weekend, this or that. Truly, that's the seed that gets planted. When we make a true difference, or what makes a true difference in our lives, is if we participate in something on a regular basis. And the reason I know this is because I was in a men's group for over 20 years. It's the same guys, and I love these guys. These are my brothers, and that's what we're trying to create here, is this brotherhood, this where we feel like, oh, these are the guys I want to have in my life for the rest of my life. And even though that group lasted 20 plus years, it's no longer a group, which kind of brings me a little sadness, but I'm still friends with the guys. I can call up and say, hey guys, what do you think about this? Or this is what's going on in my life. Just want to check in. And so we're looking to create that kind of friendship and brotherhood with like-minded men in our spiritual community. That's the bomb for me. That's the thing. That's the absolute pinnacle of us being able to do men's work, do this healing work, do this blessing work, both to give and receive, both. So.
Yeah, and the thing that excites me is this is using this summit as an impetus, if you will, to go back to what our ancestors, no matter which place you come from, established as a rites of passage. Most indigenous or most ancient communities have had rites of passage programs that covered everything from conception to ancestral.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to begin to understand that as we mature and go through life at each stage, whether it's birth or conception or birth or a childhood, adolescence, young adult, middle age, senior, or ancestral, that there are preparations that take place, and there's certain responsibilities and rights, if you will, that go along with each one of those. And we've totally forgotten that and supplanted all of them with just one thing: be a warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't work. I don't need to be a warrior when I'm holding the baby.
Yeah.
I need to be something else.
You don't want to be.
Or else the baby might be a victim, right? And we have that, right? We have that happening right now. When I'm with my beloved partner, that I'm still in this warrior mode, and so it creates some problems in abuse. Let's just be honest about it. And so if we can begin to use this as an impetus to begin to right side, if you will, or correct the course trajectory as to who we are and what we are and how we play a part in the whole of life, we're going to be a lot better, a lot quicker, and it's going to be a lot more fun, quite frankly, because I don't have to be on edge every day, every moment, every second, in a warrior mode, sending all kind of stress hormones and all kind of madness chemically, which happens automatically throughout my body, affecting every organ, including the brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Be warrior, be in the fear, be in the lookout, it's a hyperactive state of the fight flight situation.
Exactly.
And which causes a lot of stress to our body. But yeah, I think we are called to this, and you, LZ, you opened up a can of worms here. You talk about rite of passage. You talk about rite of passage work, and we have rite of passage programs coming up for teens, for young men, for midlife, and for elderhood. Those will be coming up in a short time for our community.
Well, keep me posted, because that's where my work started. In New York City.
It's so vital for us to honor those transitions into new aspects of our lives, as well as this. I mean, the small ones, like the small ones getting married, having children, going from one job to another, going from the military back to the civilian life. All of the aspects of transition from one thing to another are so vital for us as men, and to mark it in some way, to draw the line and say, okay, I'm stepping over this line. That was then, this is now. It's a rebirth of sort. And for us to be able to have that support and to have that training and to have that new thing that comes into our life, whether that's a child, whether that's a relationship, whether that's our mature self evolving into this next thing, I think is powerful and profound. It's huge. It's huge. And we've lost it. You're right. Tribal societies had that even up until the industrial age. And that's really when we saw the loss of a lot of that kind of rite of passage stuff. And now we kind of have pseudo rites of passage. Oh, okay, you can drink, or you can drive, or you can do this, or you can do that at a certain age. But it doesn't.
Yeah, but nobody pays attention to those, right?
Yeah.
The kids drink and the kids drive and the kids have sex, and those are false. I'm gonna even say, right? Just to me, none of that is actually anything authentic. It's all made up barriers, and we then can, so that somebody can feel good and say they're kind of a rite of passage.
Yeah.
But as we're in this, it's striking me that there's definitely a need for a rite of passage for our troops coming home, for our soldiers coming home.
Yeah.
because we don't do that at all. And I'm not a military guy, and I've never been in the military. My understanding, my intellectual understanding is that we do have things in place to support guys, but my sense is those don't work all that well, and they're not all that well thought out. And so it is, in some ways, there is the combination of loss of our identity is attached to this sense of separation and division that we're experiencing in the world. It's part of that that causative essence, if you will, it's really tough to go through what so many are experiencing, various forms of separation, and there's the loss of identity. And we lose the identity, and none of it makes sense. Yep. So I want to applaud again. I see you bringing identity back to men's work. And in conversations that we've had, I know you're very open to, okay, and who's going to be my counterpart in the women's culture doing this same work for women and their unique experience and their unique traumas and their unique ways of losing identity or rallying to reimagine or redefine our identity as well.
Yeah.
A lot of intertwining, a lot of places where a lot of overlaps and a lot of nexus points within your work there.
A really good word for it is wholeness. I can't take my heart out and expect to keep going. I can take my kidney out only for a little while and expect to keep going. I mean, it's a wholeness that has to take place, and we have segregated it so much to that it's beginning to fail. Already failed. We're just waking up to the failure.
Yeah. I think the separation, the division, the all of the stuff that separates us, and I think in some respects, some of those things are necessary to evolve our society, for women's rights, for LGBTQIA rights. All of these things have their own specific movements and have their own specific agendas and necessities as to what they're trying to accomplish, which we totally support in finding that sense of equality and letting go of sexism or racism or any of those other kind of harmful, disconnective pieces. But as we move into maturity, we recognize, that I'm a part of this larger thing. I'm a part of this 8 billion person community that exists on this planet Earth. And how can we possibly create a world that works for everyone? How can we possibly step up into this next level of awareness of our connectivity to be able to stand and say, yes, these are our fundamental truths and our fundamental rights and our fundamental things that all of us have and deserve. And I say this often, like it's easier, I think, for us in New Thought because we see the spirit. I see, full spirit, full spirit, full spirit, full spirit. There isn't like, you're the Pope, you're bigger than me, you're the Dalai Lama, you're more spiritual than me. We're all 100% spirit. There's no one that's less than that, and there's no one that's more than that. We're all expressing this life force energy, is how I would say it, this creativity of the cosmos, which creates planets and humans and creates solar systems and galaxies and universes and multiverses, all of that stuff from the microcosm down to the macrocosm of the atom, and 7 octillion of them that combine to make this particular body that housed this particular consciousness called me or called you. And I think when we tap into that deeper understanding that paradoxically, we are unique and different, and all of us are amazing and incredible and bring these gifts and talents, but also we're all the same. We have this, we're probably 99.99% the same, blood and organs and, DNA and how all this stuff functions and what we think and, who we are, is maybe that small 0.1% that makes us different, perceivably different than our fellow, human beings.
So one of the ways we do that is we celebrate our individuality and our fellow human beings. And we're going to take a minute to do that for our individual sponsors and organizational donors. Don't go away, folks. We're going to be right back with our final thoughts.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Yes. Thank you to all of our organizational sponsors and individual donors. It's thanks to folks like you that we're able to share these inspiring communications, conversations, and special events with you all across the planet. If you'd like to get your name or organization on our thank you video, hit the donate button over on the website. Rev Eamon, I do want to say the men's community is included in the next draft. We just haven't quite finished it yet. So you'll see the men's community there in our thank you video soon. All right, we're running right up against our allotted time frame here, folks. So let's get into some final thoughts. Rev Z, you're up.
Yeah, I've been thinking, we've covered a lot of ground, and I've been thinking about, where I should go with this. And I think one thing that for me helps capsulate this, we hear, and you brought it up, Eamon, when you talked about the industrial society. We even in our pitting, we pit hunter-gatherer society against agrarian society, which is a genesis of the industrial age, and we need both. Yeah. One is not better than the other, which just again highlight there are no parts that get thrown out of the soup. We need the bones, we need the meat, we need everything in the soup to make it yummy, and we need this idea of togetherness to make a yummy life. And there are skills and talents in both of those perspectives that work together, not against each other. And the more we can do that amongst life itself, i.e. all the aspirants, there's only 2% difference in the DNA between us and a chimp. So everybody got a part to play. Let's figure it out and let's let them play the part.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. I love that you brought up chimps. I sometimes I wonder, as I look at society through the lens of, Facebook or social media or, YouTube or whatever. And, sometimes are we more evolved than chimps, yelling at each other, throwing feces at each other, masturbating, how much have we really evolved? And so, this is the cycle. We can see where we've come from and where we can go to. And so what's in our history, and then also vision what's in our future. And for us, that's what this is about. For the New Thought men's community, that's really what this is about how do we envision a world that is full of healthy masculinity, that has equality, that has that wholeness of spirit, where everyone has that wholeness of spirit in their masculine, and can access that aspect of themselves and their feminine and that kind and generous and loving, nurturing part. So I think we're finding our way, and even we as men who've been doing this personal growth work, this inner growth work for a long time, 30 plus years for me, and still loving it. And there's more to do as we go into you mentioned this, Elzia, the unconscious parts, the parts that aren't becoming aware, that we're becoming more and more aware of, that really do restrict our good, that really do hold those old, maybe patriarchal type of beliefs in our head, those old power over models instead of power with.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we're doing. This is our first big thing that we're putting out there, which is the New Thought Men Summit. Happens September 22nd through the 27th. You can sign up at newthoughtmens.community. And we'd love to see you sign up. Again, it's for everyone. Anyone can sign up and watch the videos for free. And it's like I said, these speakers are just incredible people, and we hope you'll join us for that.
Beautiful. Well, Reverend Eamon, thanks again for being with us. My final thought today is simple, folks. It's a both-and universe, and we got to act like it. We got to live in it. So let's just get to it and do it. Anyway, so and again, Reverend Eamon, thanks for being with us. We'll hope you come back again sometime soon. Folks, stay tuned to the New Thought Media Network and join us again next week here on New Thought Today. We've got some really special guests coming up and some really in-depth interviews happening in the coming future. So, and sign up for the New Thought Men Summit. Come here. I know that I gave a rip bang of an experience, and I'm pretty sure Elzia did too. When you see these videos, you're going to be like, wow. And it's the only place you can see them. So sign up today. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.